Civilization 7 can feel overwhelming when you're just starting out. So let's break it down step by step, from setting up your first game to making your very first move. Civilization 7 is a turn-based game. We are starting on turn 1 in the year 4000 BC, and if all goes well, we'll stand the test of time. This is our capital city. Let's open the city screen. At the beginning, we can produce a scout or a warrior. In most cases, you will want to produce 2 scouts first, one and then another one. Why? Simple. There's a lot of unexplored land around your capital, and we want to discover it as quickly as possible. The scout is faster and better suited for that task than the warrior. Let's show another game save to illustrate movement. Here I've produced a warrior and a scout, so we can compare how they move. Both units can move 2 tiles per turn, but here's the difference. Rough terrain or vegetated terrain will stop the warrior immediately, even if they had movement points left. For example, it takes the warrior 2 turns to get over here, while the scout can make it in just 1. There's one important exception, rivers. Crossing a river always ends a unit's movement, even for scouts. In this case, our scout also needs 2 turns to reach this forest beyond the river. Lastly, red tiles also end the unit's turn. Now let's talk about the scout's special ability, Search. Search reveals more land, and it can uncover discoveries up to 6 tiles away. When you reach a discovery, a small narrative event appears, and you will gain a bonus, like food or happiness. We'll cover what those bonuses mean in the next section. Alright, let's start again. We found our capital city, and as before, we are building a scout. And then another scout. Now it's time to talk about yields. Using this lens icon here, we can toggle the yields overlay on and off. On and off. Let's open the city screen. Right now we are getting 5 food, 5 production, 1 culture and 5 happiness per turn. All from this single tile here. Now we can expand our city and improve one of the nearby tiles. Let's choose this one. It adds +1 food, +1 production and +1 happiness per turn. With that, our capital now has 2 citizens and will grow again in 4 turns. So let's skip ahead. Now we can expand again. This time we'll take this tile here. It gives us +2 production. And because it contains the thin resource, we get another +2 production on top of that. Let's compare turn 1 to turn 8. On turn 1 we had 5 production and it took 6 turns to build a warrior. Now we have 10 production and the same warrior takes only 3 turns to produce. Production matters. It's one of the most important yields in the game. Now a quick introduction to food. Food is what drives growth. Every time your city grows, you gain a new citizen, and that lets you work an additional tile. This city is currently producing 6 food per turn from these 2 tiles. Here you can see that we need 61 food to reach the next growth threshold. One important rule to remember: a settlement can only grow within 3 tiles in every direction, no further. Next up, signs. You usually start the game with 10 signs per turn, and here we are already up to 11. One way to increase signs is by expanding to tiles that produce it. For example, if we build a second settlement here, we can improve these tiles and gain these science yields. But what science actually for? Let's take a look at the tech tree. This is where we unlock new technologies. We've already researched agriculture, pottery and writing. You can tell by the check marks. A big part of the tech tree unlocks new buildings and units. For example, writing lets us build a library, which increases our science even more. Let's build one. A library gives +2 science per turn, +1 extra science for each adjacent resource. So if we build it here, we get just 2 science. If we build it here, next to one resource, we get 3 science. There are other possibilities where we could build the library. Here, with 2 adjacent resources, we'll get 4 science per turn. There's just one issue. We can't build the library directly on this tile. That's because every building must be connected back to the settlement center through other buildings. So first, we need to construct a building here to create that connection. For that, let's purchase the granary with gold, place it, and now we can start building the library. In 9 turns, we'll be getting an extra 4 science per turn. One last example. If we had a second city here, we could build a library with 3 adjacent resources, a great bonus. Only downside, there's an active volcano nearby. That could cause problems later on. Our next yield is culture. Let's open the civic tree. This is where you unlock most wonders and policies. Don't worry, we'll explain what those are later. So how do you get more culture? One way is from working tiles that generate culture. Another is through buildings. In the tech tree, we've already researched masonry, which unlocks our first culture building, the monument. The base yield from monument is +2 culture and +1 influence per turn. We'll cover influence later. You also gain +1 culture for each adjacent mountain. So if we build the monument here, we'll get 2 culture per turn. If we build it here, next to a mountain, we'll get 3 culture per turn. But why not build it on this tile with 2 adjacent mountains? Because we can't place buildings on resources. Okay, why not build the monument over here then? Well, it's possible, but it's probably not the best choice. Remember, buildings must be connected to the city center through other buildings. That rule applies to the library and to the monument under construction. If we wanted to build the monument way out here, we'd first have to place buildings here, here and here. And you can't build on mountains either. Building around here takes too long. It's better to finish the monument sooner and start gaining those culture yields. Most buildings come with upkeep costs. The monument costs 2 happiness and 2 gold per turn, just like the library we've already built. You can see all of this in the city screen under the building tab. Let's place the hanging gardens right here. We'll skip ahead 12 turns and take a closer look what wonders are. Alright, we've just completed the hanging gardens. Most wonders are unlocked in the civic tree, though some come from the tech tree. In the trees, buildings are marked with a round icon, while wonders have a square outline. Wonders are unique, they can only be built once per game. Since there are other AI players, someone else might build it before you, so don't wait too long. Each wonder gives a specific bonus. The hanging gardens, for example, increases growth in all your cities by 10%. But that's not all. Remember this library, it gives +2 science, +1 science for each adjacent resource. Now that the hanging gardens are built nearby, the library gains another +1 science from adjacency. Same goes for this monument. Its base yield is +2 culture, +1 culture per adjacent mountain. With the wonder nearby, it now gains +1 more culture. One last thing, you can usually build 2 buildings on a single tile. For example, this tile has both a brickyard and a granary. Here we only have a library, so there's still room for another building. But wonders are different. They take up the entire tile, no additional buildings allowed. Okay, now a quick introduction to influence. The monument is the first building in a tech tree that increases your influence per turn. Influence is used in 2 key areas. There are 2 types of independent powers, friendly ones marked with a yellow outline and hostile ones with a red outline. Hostile powers may attack you, so make sure to keep a few units stationed nearby. You can use influence to improve relations with independent powers. Over time, they can become allies. You can also spend influence on collaboration with other AI leaders. This might lead to alliance, or you can choose to damage the relationship by denouncing them or using espionage. Always keep an eye on your diplomatic status. Here, this leader is neutral. Let's switch to another game save. Here, those leaders are hostile toward us. They might declare war, and that's a problem, especially with both opponents so close to our empire. Our next yield is happiness. The more happiness your empire generates per turn, the faster you will reach a celebration. But what is a celebration? Let's open the social policies. A celebration grants a bonus. For example, here we can choose +20% culture for the next 10 turns. Right now we have 1 social policy slot and we are already gaining that bonus. Each time your empire enters a new celebration, it unlocks an additional slot. How do you unlock new policies? Policies are found in the civics tree, marked with the feather icon. Here we've unlocked a lot of policies through the civic tree, and we've had multiple celebrations, each one unlocking a new policy slot. Now let's slot those policies in and get the bonuses. Gold is pretty straightforward. You can use it to buy units and buildings in your settlement, and they become available immediately. Just keep in mind, some units and buildings have upkeep costs, so always keep an eye on your gold income. You can also spend gold to convert a town into a city. But what's the difference? Let's start from the beginning. When a settlement reaches 5 citizens, you can build a settler and found a new settlement. On the map, blue tiles are near fresh water. Settling here gives your new town a happiness bonus. You can also settle on yellow tiles, but those comes with a happiness penalty. Now let's compare the difference. On the left, we settled near fresh water. On the right, the same settler founded a town without fresh water. There's also a settlement limit. If you go over it, you will receive another happiness penalty. Luckily, you can increase that limit. In the tech tree, unlock irrigation. The house icon shows it increases the settlement limit by +1. In the civic tree, unlock entertainment and organized military. And don't forget, different civilizations have their own unique civic trees. Since we are playing as the Romans, we can unlock 2 additional settlement slots through Roman-specific civics. When you start a new game, your first settlement will be a city, and it's also your capital, marked by the star icon on the banner. Once you reach 5 citizens, you can build settlers, and every new settlement will begin as a town. You can tell the difference between a city and a town by looking at the banner. Cities show your leader portrait, while towns do not. So what's the difference? In towns, you can't produce units or buildings. You can purchase units and some basic buildings, but not all of them. Any production generated in a town is automatically converted into gold. You do have the option to convert a town into a city, and the more citizens the town has, the cheaper the conversion cost will be. And that's it, a full overview of the most important basics in Civilization 7. From your first scout to managing cities, yields and diplomacy, you are now ready to start building your empire. There's still much more to explore, but don't worry, you learn as you play. Thanks for watching and good luck out there.